Good evening, I'm Paola Suro. Thanks for joining us for News Channel 8 on the CW Tampa Bay. 2 people are dead and a young girl is in the ICU after a murder-suicide in Polk County. Sheriff Grady Judd says the crime is so heinous, even his own homicide detectives were horrified. News Channel 8's Ryan Arbogast has reaction from law enforcement and from people who knew the victims.
On the surface, it was the kind of night nobody remembers. A television glowing in the corner of the room. A football game playing in the background. Children moving through the house like any other evening. And a remote control, resting on a couch, about to become something much bigger than it ever should have been. Inside that home, tension had been building quietly. Not the kind that screams. The kind that waits. The kind that looks normal to the outside world. A disagreement began. Voices rose. Then something shifted. Something invisible, something final. By the time the house went silent, a line had been crossed that could never be uncrossed. A mother would never stand up again. A child would carry wounds no one should survive. And the smallest argument would leave a family shattered forever. This isn't a story about a remote control. It's about what happens when control itself is challenged, and violence is already waiting. Crystal wasn't defined by chaos. She was defined by responsibility. She was a mother first, always. The kind of woman who thought in terms of schedules, meals, school mornings, bedtimes. The kind who measured her own stress against how calm the house felt for the kids. People who knew her described her as steady. Not dramatic. Not confrontational. She carried emotional weight quietly, the way many women do, by absorbing tension instead of releasing it. Crystal believed in fixing things, in patience, in holding families together even when things felt difficult behind closed doors. If you're finding this story important so far, take a moment to subscribe. These are the stories that deserve to be remembered, not rushed past. Because not all danger looks dangerous when you're living inside it. Her husband, Crystal Kenney, was part of the household rhythm too. Like many homes, there were routines that revolved around him, his moods, his habits, his expectations. Alcohol played a role. Not always violently, not always obviously, but enough to change tone, enough to lower patience, enough to sharpen irritability. Control doesn't always arrive with threats. Sometimes it arrives with entitlement, with the assumption that certain things like space, silence, or a television, belong to one person more than anyone else. And when that assumption is challenged, even slightly, something else can surface. It started small. A disagreement over the television, over the remote, over who controlled the screen in that moment. To an outsider, it would sound ridiculous, almost embarrassing, the kind of thing people laugh about later. But inside the house, it wasn't about football. It wasn't about a channel. It was about resistance. Crystal said no. And sometimes, in the wrong environment, no is the most dangerous word of all. At some point, the disagreement crossed an invisible threshold. Fear entered the room. Not panic yet. Not chaos. But awareness, the instinctive sense that something was wrong. That voices weren't just loud, they were sharp. That movement felt aggressive. That control was being threatened. Crystal did what mothers do when danger creeps close. She thought of the kids first. She tried to de-escalate. If this story is holding your attention, stay with me. What happens next shows why moments like these are never just arguments. But escalation doesn't always listen. What happened next unfolded in seconds, but its impact will last lifetimes.
Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd said it best. He calls this a crime that completely and utterly destroyed an entire family. Neighbors we spoke to here say they're shocked, they're appalled, and they're still at a loss for words on exactly how their street turned into a massive crime scene late last night. First comes the fire trucks, then the ambulance, then the cops.
A firearm was introduced into the argument. There was no warning, no time to process, no opportunity for escape. Crystal was shot inside her own home. The sound shattered everything, the silence, the routine, the illusion of safety. Children screamed. Chaos exploded through rooms that had been ordinary just moments earlier. And then the violence didn't stop. A 13-year-old child was shot, injured in a way no child should ever experience, by someone she trusted to protect her. In the middle of the horror, Crystal still acted like a mother. She ordered one child to run, to escape, to survive. When the noise stopped, the house was unrecognizable. A woman lay dying. A child was critically wounded. Another had fled into the night seeking help. A baby remained in a crib, unaware that life had just split in two forever. This is the part of domestic violence that rarely gets shown, the silence after, the stillness, the confusion. If this moment is hitting you, let me know in the comments. Not for debate, but for remembrance. Jason fled the scene. Calls were made. Law enforcement searched. Eventually, he was found. There would be no trial, no courtroom, no cross-examination. Jason ended his own life. And with that, accountability vanished. Investigators later found a handwritten note from Crystal. In it, she urged Jason to seek help, to address alcohol use, to change. It wasn't angry. It was hopeful. And that hope is what makes it heartbreaking, because it shows Crystal believed things could still be saved.
And what I'm about to describe to you is even 10 times that worse.
A mother of three, wife and friend, murdered in cold blood.
This is things that are never supposed to happen.
According to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, killed by the man she called her husband, 47-year-old Jason Kenney.
Crystal Kenney, the wife of Jason, is shot in the head and dead. But it gets worse.
Polk County deputies got a 911 call from Crystal's 12-year-old boy, running from this home along Lemon Avenue in Lakeland after a fight over TV channels got violent.
As he's leaving the house, he hears a gunshot.
Deputies arrived, finding Kenny's 1-year-old child unharmed and his 13-year-old stepdaughter inside bleeding out. Luckily, the young girl able to talk to law enforcement.
She said, I begged him, don't shoot me, don't shoot me, don't shoot me, and he shot me anyway.
The surviving children will grow up with pieces of that night lodged into their memories. One survived gunshot wounds. Others survived witnessing violence. All survived losing their mother. If stories like this make you think differently about what happens behind closed doors, subscribing helps ensure these conversations don't disappear. This was never about a remote control. It was about power, about entitlement, about what happens when control is challenged. Alcohol didn't cause this. Football didn't cause this. The violence was already there, waiting. Somewhere else that night, football games ended. Remotes were put down. Families went to bed without incident. But in one home, a mother didn't survive the evening. Her name was Crystal Kenney.
Sheriff Judd says there's one good thing, one Christmas miracle, as he put it. The 13-year-old girl that was shot multiple times is expected to be okay despite being in critical condition. Reporting tonight in Polk County, Ryan Arbogast, 8 on your side.
And her story reminds us that danger doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it waits for the smallest moment to reveal itself. If you believe these stories matter, subscribe, share this video, and keep these names from being forgotten. Silence is what allows this darkness to keep repeating.